Government of Tripura, Sri Kishore Varman ji, who is the chief guest of this valedictory session. Respected Secretary, School Education, Sri Sanjay Kumar ji, Secretary, Higher Education, Sri Binit Joshi ji. Present here, Professor Manjul Bhargav, Chairman, Education Advisory Council. Professor Jagdish Kumar ji, former Chairman, UGC. Esteemed guest participants present here in the valedictory session. It's indeed my great privilege and honor to welcome you all to this session, which is ending as a valedictory session of Akhil Bharatiya Shiksha Samagam 2025. As we all know, your presence adds immense value to this occasion, and in this session, we will actually deliberate on what we gained during the day of activities, which started with the inaugural session addressed by Honorable Education Minister Sri Dharmendra Pradhan ji. We also had message of Honorable Prime Minister and several ministers from the state. So indeed, it had been a momentous day, and we have witnessed a rich confluence of ideas, experience, and innovations across various thematic sessions. From the thoughtful discussions on the use of Bharatiya Bhasha in teaching and learning to nurturing India's next generation of academic and industry leadership and reimagining secondary education. Each session has deepened our understanding and reinforced our commitment to transform education in this country. I welcome all the participants, educators, academic leaders, researchers, and policy makers who have made this Samagam a dynamic hub of learning and collaborations. Your enthusiasm and active engagement have been the heartbeat of this event. It is also apt that this day marks the completion of 5 years of national education policy, a landmark reform in our education system. We have all witnessed during the day the role of technology, especially AI, in revolutionizing our education system, which has been the highlight of the day, showcasing how innovation can fuel accessibility, quality, and inclusion in education. I congratulate and thank all the moderators, panelists of each of the thematic sessions for their enlightening deliberations and all the participants for their active engagement and enthusiasm. As we move towards the culmination of this Samagam, I am confident that the learning and collaborations discussed here will empower us to take concrete steps forward in realizing the vision outlined in National Education Policy 2020. This closing session is not an end, but a stepping stone towards implementing the ideas and innovations we have explored together. As we reflect on the discussions, deliberations, and connections forged during the Samagam, let us carry forward this spirit of collaborations and innovations as we strive together the shared vision of Viksit Bharat. Once again, I welcome you all to this valedictory session and wish the learnings of the day will give us a lot of insight to take forward steps for implementation of National Education Policy 2020. Thank you and welcome again. Thank you.
धन्यवाद महोदय। अखिल भारतीय शिक्षा समागम में दिन भर आयोजित हुए विषय आधारित सत्रों का सारांश और भविष्य की रणनीति पर और प्रकाश डालने के लिए मैं आमंत्रित करती हूं प्रोफेसर एम जगदीश कुमार, पूर्व अध्यक्ष यूजीसी।
Namaskar, Honorable Higher Education Minister of Tripura and the distinguished colleagues from across the country, from the ministry, and the teachers. Today we have met on the fifth anniversary of the implementation, the launching of the National Education Policy. Just now I got a message saying that we have to complete this program on time. If we don't complete, we will be served dinner. So that's so therefore I'll cut down on my time and save you from the dinner. Friends, since morning we have been involved in deliberations on various issues related to the NEP 2020. A 5-year time milestone is the right time to actually look back and see the direction of the intent and the pace of implementation and the measured outcomes of this implementation of NEP 2020 across the school education and also the higher education system. The mood across the country is upbeat. The academic conversations now use terminologies that were not part of our conversations 5 years ago. Today, we talk about APAR, we talk about academic bank of credits, multidisciplinarity, multi-entry, multi-exit, use of Indian languages as a medium of instruction in our schools and the higher educational institutions, integration of Indian knowledge systems, internationalization of our higher education. These were not part of our conversations. Today, it has become a norm thanks to the commitment shown by all of you, faculty members, educational leaders across the country, in implementing the NEP 2020. We had four thematic topics on which we deliberated. The first one was on the use of Bharatiya Bhashas in our educational system. And it was a very, very lively discussion, especially the participation from the audience was very, very encouraging. There is no doubt that as recommended by NEP 2020, uh, the use of multilingualism in our educational system and using Indian languages as a medium of instruction will go a long way in providing social equity, in democratizing our education system, and also providing an education which is culturally enriching and also cognitively empowering. And that's the reason why we decided in our thematic theme that we need to focus on creating the resources in Indian languages and training the teachers. Teacher preparedness is also an important aspect of introducing Bharatiya Bhasha in our educational system. And then there was another topic related to the research ecosystem in our country. We now have ANRF and also the Prime Minister's Research Fellowships. Although I was not part of that session because I had to attend another parallel session during that time, we all understand that India is emerging to be a leader in scientific research and technological innovations, be it quantum computing, be it AI, biotechnology, pharmacy, and many other areas. But we need to keep that momentum going. And to make this a reality, we need focused funding, and especially across the university system. We are all proud that we have great institutions such as IITs, NITs, and ISERs, other institutions. But we also have a huge university ecosystem which has good talent, young people, and faculty members. We need to provide sufficient focused funding to these institutions also. And the goal and objectives of ANRF is precisely that. Therefore, we are on a path to take India to the next level in terms of the research contributions. Then we spoke in a separate session where I also said, how can we increase the GER to 100% in the school system. And many interesting examples were brought to the notice of the audience during these discussions. Making small interventions in the school system can bring a huge change in attracting and in retaining these young kids as part of the school system so that they can move forward into the higher education system. One of the interesting examples that was given was how providing vocational education, providing skill education to the students help them bring out their innovative skills. One example that was given was in one of the schools, a student was trained in their training unit, and this student was able to build an EV cycle, and that reduced the commuting cost of the student from 60 rupees to 6 rupees. So the question before us is, why cannot we replicate these examples? Why not we scale up these examples by making smaller interventions, by making education more experiential? So these are all questions that we need to ponder when we go back and see how we can bring a change in the system in which we are working. And the last thematic theme you have already seen, a lot of discussions took place, and AI is going to be part of our lives. In fact, new technologies will keep coming. Today it is AI, tomorrow what we have not heard, new technologies will come, but the ability to use these technologies in a way which will enhance human creativity, which will enhance the quality of life of human societies is something that we need to focus on. And AI has immense potential, both from the student's perspective and also the teacher's perspective. So, my dear friends, when you look forward in 2030, the universities and the colleges and the schools will have little resemblance to what they were in 2020 when we launched the NEP 2020. The very definition of the student will change. You will have students speaking multiple Indian languages in the schools and the colleges and universities. You will have students who might have discontinued their education and then rejoining in the education. You will have students whose aspirations are not yet finalized. They are still searching to do what next. So the very definition of the students will change. And as educational institutions, we should be ready to handle this kind of heterogeneous situation in our universities and colleges. And NEP 2020 provides us that pathway, and our experience during the last 5 years demonstrates that we are all committed to bring the change in our education system so that by 2047, India will become Vikasit Bharat. Many thanks for participating in this one-day session from across the country, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
धन्यवाद सर। कार्यक्रम को आगे बढ़ाते हुए मैं आमंत्रित करती हूँ प्रोफेसर मंजुल भार्गव, चेयरमैन एजुकेशन एडवाइजरी काउंसिल। आपकी अहम भूमिका रही है एनईपी की रूपरेखा तैयार करने में। कृपया अपने विचार इस मंच पर साझा करें। आपको आमंत्रित करते हैं।
त्रिपुरा के उच्च शिक्षा मंत्री श्री किशोर बर्मन जी, उच्च शिक्षा सचिव श्री विनीत जोशी जी, स्कूल शिक्षा सचिव श्री संजय कुमार जी, प्रोफेसर जगदेश कुमार जी, अपर सचिव श्री आनंद राव पाटिल जी एवं सुनील कुमार जी और सभी उपस्थित वशिष्ठ अतिथि, आप सबको मेरा सादर नमस्कार और प्रणाम. It's a real honor today to remember Dr. Kasturi Ranganji, under whose distinguished leadership we had the privilege of working and drafting the new National Education Policy 2020. Many of the members of the committee are here with us today. Thank you so much to each and every one of you for your service and for being part of this, what was really a dream and a journey. I still remember meeting Dr. Kasturi Ranganji for the first time at the first NEP drafting committee meeting. His eyes were beaming and glowing with his usual infectious enthusiasm, warmth, wisdom, encouragement. And we grew fond of each other very quickly, first as scientists, but also as people and as citizens interested and passionate about education and policy. For each monthly meeting of the drafting committee, I would actually travel from Princeton University every month to Bangalore for the meetings. I was at Princeton University as a professor of mathematics, where I still am. But after a few meetings where I was just traveling monthly from New York, Dr. Kasturi Ranganji asked me if I would be willing to just stay there for a few months and just work on policy with him. And so I took a leave of absence from Princeton University to stay in Bangalore and work full-time with him and the other drafting committee members for the next nearly 1 year. I thought I was coming for a couple of months. And as our committee members will tell you, it was a real labor of love. We visited schools, universities, colleges, and we consulted literally thousands of experts around the world over that time in person and over a lakh virtually. We were told afterwards that it was the largest consultative policy work ever conducted. Our goal was a holistic, comprehensive, interconnected education policy that brought together the best global practices, but at the same time was rooted in India, rooted in the culture of India, rooted in the ethos of India, and rooted in the realities of India. I thought I was done when the policy was finished, but not long after, Dr. Kasturi Ranganji and also our Honorable Shiksha Mantri, Dharmendra Pradhanji, and others again asked if I'd be willing to stay and help out with NEP implementation also. And so here I am. It's been a real joy to work with the team here, to watch the systematic reforms in education that have taken place over the last 5 years. Although there are too many aspects of successful implementation and achievements to list in just a few minutes, among some of the greatest achievements in NEP implementation, I would say personally have been the introduction across the country of early childhood education in the form of Balvatikas and the Jadui Pitara. There have been huge achievements also in early learning and early literacy, as we saw in the video this morning. Initiatives such as Nipun Bharat. The development of textbooks that are aligned with the NEP to make learning more engaging, more experiential, more activity-based, more discovery-based, more exploration-based. The emphasis on Bharatiya languages and on the mother tongue. And one of the big ones that's coming next year, I think one of the biggest changes that we'll see in education is the end of streaming in secondary education. Starting next year, there will be no more science students, no more social science students, no more commerce students. They'll just be students who can learn whatever they want. Students will not have to decide anymore already in 8th grade what they want to be. they can explore across subjects, learn holistically, and be ready for their 21st century jobs, their first job, their second job, their third job. That, I think, is perhaps one of the greatest changes in the education system to come next year. And the new textbooks are aligned with that. There's been a cautious but systematic embracing of technology, suitable technology in and for education. And another one of the greatest accomplishments that's happened since independence is the establishment of a national Anusandhan Research Foundation, making research now a core priority of higher education institutions across the country. We heard beautifully about a lot of these aspects and a lot of these accomplishments, beautifully about these from many of the experts in the sessions today. So keeping in mind all these incredible accomplishments, it's also important to keep in mind that a lot remains to be done. I really liked what Secretary Sanjay Kumarji said this morning. The NEP is in its 5th year, so it's at the end of its foundational stage. The real work begins now as we enter the middle stage. In addition to continuing and strengthening the aforementioned initiatives, much work remains, including on smoothing the linkage between secondary education and higher education, as secondary education is being transformed into one that's multidisciplinary, non-streamed. Higher education also has to adapt so that there's a continuous transition between secondary education and higher education. We must help colleges and universities move towards multidisciplinarity and towards autonomy. We must aim to strengthen research, not just in the sciences, as the Anusandhan Research Foundation is currently doing, not just in the sciences and engineering, but also across all fields of human endeavor: social sciences, arts, commerce, economics, languages, and literature. Another priority that's going to be very, very important in the coming years is the training of teachers to adjust to the new education system, both in the school level and at the higher education level. Teacher training will be particularly important over the next 5 years, especially in the new required areas. All students will now be taking vocational education starting in 3rd grade all the way to 10th grade. That's another major change in the school education system. All students will be taking art. All students will be taking physical education. We need to train teachers and hire sufficient teachers, or hire teachers to clusters so that these subjects can be taught adequately to all students. This will be a revolution in vocational education across the country for students and for teachers alike. So, and much, much more. There's a lot more to do. This is just a sample listing of the things that are on the horizon for us in the middle stage of the NEP. So I want to end by thanking the Honorable Education Minister, Shri Dharmendra Pradhanji, for his vision and commitment to implementing the NEP in full in order to transform the Indian education system into one that is second to none in the world. That is our common goal here today and over the coming years. The Honorable Minister has been sure to keep academics like us and many others close to him, to constantly seek advice from all of us and to make constant and regular course corrections. Bringing in the best global practices from across the world within the Bharatiya context is indeed what defines our Honorable Education Minister, and I think that will be his continuing and lasting legacy. We in the education community thank him for supporting this new vision of excellence in world-class education. I also want to thank everyone in the education ministry and beyond, in the government and beyond the government, all of us here, all the teachers, principals, vice chancellors, educational functionaries, educationists, teachers and students who have participated in this grassroots effort and in this important project of national importance, the implementation of the NEP. With all of us working together, I have no doubt that we can achieve full implementation of the NEP and achieve an education system that, again, is unmatched anywhere in the world. I'm confident that all of us, if we continue to work together, we can most definitely achieve this. So thank you so much for all your cooperation. Thank you for listening. जय भारत।
धन्यवाद सर। और इस मंच पर अपने विचारों को साझा करने के लिए मैं आमंत्रित करती हूँ श्री संजय कुमार जी, सचिव स्कूल शिक्षा एवं साक्षरता विभाग, शिक्षा मंत्रालय।
Chief guest of this valedictory function, Honorable Minister, Higher Education of Tripura, Shri Kishore Barmanji, my colleague, Secretary Higher Education, Dr. Vineet Joshi, Dr. Manjul Bhargav, who continues to inspire us in more ways than one, always. Eminent educationist, Professor Jagdish Kumarji, Shri Sunil Kumar Barnwal, and Anand Vishnurao Patil, Additional Secretary in the Ministry of Education. All our distinguished colleagues and stakeholders of the Education Department. You know, we've been listening to so many people since the morning, and I was just thinking that, you know, we Homo sapiens, we've always been learning, but the base has remained narrow. Most people learn, but a large number of people did not learn in a manner we have come to understand now. In 1453, the printing press was invented. But even then, universalization of education did not take place. It's a probably phenomena of the late 19th century or early 20th century. And we who are part of education, I especially as Secretary of School Education, we are dealing primarily with universalization of education, where every child must go to school and every child must learn without no exception at all. Now, what does the National Education Policy say? It says that by 2030, the GR for secondary education should be 100%. And by 2035, GR for higher education should be 50. So assuming that we reach this normative goal, that means that after class 12th, 50% of people are going to join the workforce and 50% will go to higher education. Now, what is the kind of competency we are giving to these 50% people who are going to join the workforce after class 12th is the larger question. And again, the 50% who are going to join the higher education, what are the possibilities for them in terms of research, in terms of higher education, and building finer and greater core competencies in the kind of skills. Every year, the India skill report comes out. And if you see the skill report, I think we've been doing steadily better and better. But even the last year report says that only 51 to 52% of people who are coming out are actually employable. So this number actually needs to go up. This morning, we've been deliberating on it. And I think one of the best way to ensure that everyone learns is to do our foundational level well. ADP talks about 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. These 5 years, which comprises of 3 years of pre-primary and class 1 and 2, that is the area of focus for us, where children go to a school or to an Anganwadi center, to a pre-primary school, and get to learn in their mother tongue. When you learn in your mother tongue, you learn well. You know, I learned my counting in Hindi first, and then later I learned it in 1, 2, 3, 4, that is in English, the Roman numerals. Even today, I find that when I count, I use the Roman numerals, but if I have to count something very fast, my mind actually switches over to the Hindi part. You know, there is a learning for this, from this for all of us. We learn best in our local mother tongue. So that is something which we need to embed in our system. The question I'm leaving for all of you is, in English, in India, we have a great fascination for English. But I often ask this question, and I'm coming around to this point of view, that should you learn English as a subject or should you learn English as a medium of instruction? And I think there are very good arguments that if you learn your language well in your mother tongue and you pick up English as an additional subject, you still can develop absolutely good proficiency in English. And I am sure that many of you who are in this hall may have undergone the process of learning through this process. That is point number one. The point number two, which I want to leave before you, is how do we create capacity in the education sector to be able to spend more? If you look at our three last national policies, Kothari Commission, the new education policy of 1986, and the new education policy of the national education policy of 2020. All three actually speak of the normative sense that we should be spending approximately 6% of our GDP as public expenditure in education. I think we are doing about 4.2 as of now. We still have a 1.8 to go somewhere, but I think you need to have capacity and the absorptive capacity to be able to do this. I think we need collective thinking, and I think I can see directors of IIMs, I can see directors of IITs, basically the eminent educationists of the country. How do we create capacity to be able to absorb more in the education sector? We need to do this. So this is point number two. I have been looking at some data and I came across that the average labor productivity for an Indian is $8 per hour. And if you compare it with what it is in the US, it is 70 USDs. So look at the difference between India and the US. What is it that they are doing that we are not being able to do that? And I was looking at the educational profile of US and the educational profile of us in India. You see that the majority of the people in the labor force in India are having an educational level less than that of basic education, that is elementary education, that is class 8. And in the US, it is 51.52%, which is actually people having advanced degrees. So for the 50% of the people who are actually going into higher education, they need to go into specialized area of research. And this product mix will have to be created where larger and larger number of Indians are actually holding specialized degrees and advanced degrees. Then only we'll be able to make sure that we increase the amount of money which we are actually spending in research R&D. As of now, we are doing 0.65. Israel does approximately 4.5, that is the highest. China is doing more than 2, but then there are larger economy. But we need to increase our R&D, and the R&D is going to increase only when we are going to have more and more people doing research in the higher education. Last 2 points I would want to say is that we often talk about STEM education, and I've always held the view that our colleges and our universities must become the place for science education, because that is where the volume of students are. So this is one point I would want you to consider and see as to how it can be done. To some extent, I think there should be a little more focus on liberal education also. Liberal education, to some extent, is also being sidelined. And a lot of the best of our people are not going into studying history, anthropology, political science. I think there needs to be some kind of and the market must move in a manner in which children who are doing actually liberal education, they also get to find a job and to look forward to doing something very, very meaningful. But this is something, again, which needs to be thought of. The last point I would want to say is that technology is going to stay with us. And I was there in the last session listening to eminent panelists on artificial intelligence and how it is going to affect us. I don't think that we need to get very unduly worried about it. Shankarji was mentioning in his speech or in his address that in 1913, Edison thought that books are going to be passé and silent movies will overtake, because he had developed something like that. But then books have remained with us. Today we are talking about artificial intelligence, but my personal feeling is, until proved wrong in due course of time, the jury is still out there, that teachers are going to continue with us, books are going to continue with us. We are going to learn in a manner which enables us to learn better. And with that, we do it on a very, very personal level. But to this audience, I would say that please give us ideas as to how AI can be used in pedagogy and AI can be used in education governance. Can I use AI to develop lesson plans for teachers? That would be extremely important for us. That is one thing. And the number two is, can we use AI for large data analytics leading to good education governance? We are creating an APAR ID for each and every of our students. We already have about 13.89 crore APAR IDs generated in the school sector. Each and every child who has an APAR ID gets access to a DG locker. His holistic or progress card can be digitized, put in the DG locker. Can we use AI to analyze, to see as to what is happening? If you can use AI for good governance, to us who are part of the education governance, it will be a great asset. Besides, I think the debate will go on. AI is going to affect us, perhaps in many ways, but then we have always survived. We have always survived in spite of the fact that technology has come at every stage, and we are going to survive this also. Teachers are going to remain important for all of us all the time, but these are some of the initial thoughts which come to my mind when I get to speak to you this evening. May I suggest something which I feel that is a little absent in our system? There should be greater cross-fertilization between higher education and school education. Sometimes I feel that we always live in a parallel world. I think if the two circles are there, then the Venn diagram of the two departments must make a greater overlap. Then we'll be able to do things better. You will be able to understand the perspective of the school education better, because actually you have risen from there, and higher education will profit from it because children will learn better and they'll make better citizens and they'll make better scientists, better professors, better directors. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
धन्यवाद सर। अब हम आमंत्रित करेंगे समापन सत्र के मुख्य अतिथि श्री किशोर बर्मन, हायर एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ त्रिपुरा।
सबको मेरा नमस्ते। अखिल भारतीय शिक्षा समागम 2025 जातीय शिक्षा नीति 2020 इसके 5 साल पूर्ण होने पर ये जो कार्यक्रम आयोजित किया गया, इसके समापन सत्र के मंच पर उपस्थित है श्री जगदीश कुमार जी, फॉर्मर चेयरमैन यूजीसी, श्री संजय कुमार जी, सेक्रेटरी, श्री विनीत जोशी जी, सेक्रेटरी ऑफ हायर एजुकेशन, प्रोफेसर मंजुल भार्गव जी, ड्राफ्टिंग कमिटी मेंबर ऑफ NEP, अदर्स सेक्रेटरीज हायर एजुकेशन, और मेरे सामने उपस्थित देश भर से आए हुए शिक्षा जगत से जुड़े हुए सारे शिक्षाविदों, सबको मेरा त्रिपुरा की ओर से, त्रिपुरा सरकार और त्रिपुरा की जनता की ओर से इस जातीय शिक्षा नीति का 5 साल पूरा होने पर मैं सबको शुभकामनाएं देता हूं, सबको बधाई देता हूं। इस समापन सत्र में मैं एक एक्सीडेंटल चीफ गेस्ट हूं। मुझे कुछ घंटों पहले बताया गया कि आपको समापन क्षेत्र में बैठना है चीफ गेस्ट के नाते। हमारे ऑनरेबल भारत सरकार के एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर उसमें समापन रखने वाले थे, तो उनके स्थान पर मुझे कुछ बोलना, ये मेरे लिए एक दुस्साहस भी है और मेरे लिए सौभाग्य भी है। और केवल 15 दिन ही हुआ है मैं हायर एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर बना हूं। तो कह सकते हैं कि ये मेरे लिए और भी ज्यादा मुश्किल काम है। लेकिन जातीय शिक्षा नीति जब बने नहीं थे, नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी जब कहा जाता था, उनके साथ मेरा 10 साल का संपर्क है, 10 साल से भी ज्यादा। आप लोग कह सकते हैं कि अब आया 2020 में, 2020 में, लेकिन आपके साथ 2010 साल से संपर्क कैसे है? हालांकि जातीय शिक्षा नीति का जो पहला ड्राफ्ट का बनने का काम शुरू हुआ वो 2014 से ही बनना शुरू हुआ, और 2014 में 11 सरकारी संगठन इसको शुरू किया। उसका नाम है अखिल भारतीय विद्यार्थी परिषद, और मैं उस विद्यार्थी परिषद का कार्यकर्ता था। कोलकाता में गोल पार्क में द रामकृष्ण मिशन इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ कल्चर, उसमें 3 दिन लगातार उसका देश में नया शिक्षा नीति आना चाहिए, उसका प्रारूप क्या होना चाहिए, उसमें क्या क्या रहना चाहिए, और देश की संस्कृति, देश का सभ्यता और देश की जो मूल बातें हैं उस शिक्षा नीति में क्या क्या रहना चाहिए, सारे देश भर से बड़े बड़े हमारे जो शिक्षा संस्थान हैं उनका डायरेक्टर से लेकर एजुकेशनिस्ट से लेकर सारे लोग आए थे। इसमें 3 दिन तक इसमें चर्चा हुआ। तब मैं संगठन मंत्री था विद्यार्थी परिषद का, तो उस इतना बड़ा सेमिनार को आयोजित करने का मुझे मौका मिला था 3 दिन। तो तब से इसके बाद उसका ड्राफ्ट बनना, देश भर में उसको चर्चा में लाना, अलग अलग इंस्टीट्यूशंस, स्टूडेंट के बीच में, या फिर अलग अलग जो शैक्षणिक संस्थान है सारे भी इसको चर्चा में लाना, ये सब में कई सारा कार्यक्रम में भी मुझे भी भाग लेने का मौका उसमें मिला था। तो इसीलिए आज फिर घूम फिर के वही मंच पे आना, और मेरे लिए विडंबना की बात यह है कि देश भर से इतने सारे विद्वान लोग यहाँ पे आए थे। शायद आप लोगों को तो मैं झेल लूंगा, लेकिन मेरे सामने जो बैठे हैं, जो उस पहला जो सेमिनार हुआ था नया शिक्षा नीति को लेकर, उनका जो मास्टर माइंड था वो हमारे सामने यहाँ पे बैठे हैं के.एन. रघुनंदन जी, और उनके सामने बोलना पड़ रहा है आज मुझे, यहीं पर ही बैठे इसी हॉल में। तो जो भी हो, ये केवल एक हमारे लिए शिक्षा नीति नहीं है, ये हमारे देश के लिए हम कह सकते हैं कि एक सपनों का रूपरेखा है, और इस सपनों को हमारे आने वाले जो पीढ़ी है उन पर लेके जाना है। कह सकते हैं कि ये जो शिक्षा नीति है, हम सब जानते हैं, ये भारत का शिक्षा नीति है, कोई अंग्रेजों के द्वारा ये बनाया गया नहीं है। ये शिक्षा नीति हमारे भारतीयों के द्वारा बनाया गया है, भारत के लिए बनाया गया है और भारत को बनाने के लिए बनाया गया है। और भारत को बनाने वाले इस शिक्षा नीति के माध्यम से जो लोग हैं वो हम इस हॉल में सब मौजूद हैं। तो इसीलिए मैं समझता हूँ कि हम लोगों का दायित्व भी बहुत बड़ा है, क्योंकि इस सेमिनार में जो टैगलाइन दिया गया, राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति के से विकसित भारत, हमारे मोदी जी ने हमारे सामने एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत बनाने का लक्ष्य हमारे सामने रखा है, संकल्प रखा है। तो एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत हम अगर बनाएंगे तो केवल उनका इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चरल डेवलपमेंट होने से नहीं चलेगा, क्योंकि हम सब लोग जानते हैं और मानते भी हैं, किसी भी जाति, किसी भी देश या किसी भी राष्ट्र को अगर विकसित होना है, विकसित उनको तब कहा जाता है जब उनके उस समाज, उस जाति या उन राष्ट्र के जो नागरिक है वो कितना शिक्षित है, उसके ऊपर उस देश का विकास निर्भर है। या फिर एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत बनाने के लिए देश की, किसी देश को बनाना है तो उस देश का मूलभूत उसका परिवर्तन लाना है, और परिवर्तन अगर मूलभूत लाना है तो पहले उनका जो शिक्षा व्यवस्था है, उस शिक्षा व्यवस्था की मूलभूत परिवर्तन उसमें लाना है। तो मोदी जी ने यही हमारे सामने संकल्प रखा है। नई शिक्षा नीति के माध्यम से भारत को विश्व गुरु बनाना है, और विश्व गुरु बनाने के लिए हमारे देश की सारे नागरिकों को शिक्षा के अंदर लाना और देश के सारे नागरिकों को शिक्षित बनाना, ये इसका मैं समझता हूँ कि मूल लक्ष्य है। तो इसीलिए ये बहुत बड़ा एक लक्ष्य जो है उसको पूरा करने के लिए हम सब, सारा देश भर से जो शिक्षा क्षेत्र में, शिक्षा जगत में हम लोग काम करते हैं, यही बैठे हैं। तो मैं मानता हूँ कि ये हमारे लिए बहुत बड़ा सौभाग्य भी है और हमारे लिए अपॉर्चुनिटी भी है। हमको इस शिक्षा को, हमारे देश को शिक्षा क्षेत्रों में विश्व गुरु बनाने का जो संकल्प मोदी जी ने हमारे सामने रखा है, इसको पूरा करने के लिए हम सभी लोगों ने बहुत अच्छे किए हैं। जब से नया शिक्षा नीति आए हैं तब से हमारे देश शिक्षा क्षेत्र में एक नया उड़ान भरे है। सुबह उद्घाटन सत्र में हमारे शिक्षा मंत्री जी ने उसका विस्तृत विश्व के सामने आज भारत का शिक्षा व्यवस्था का स्थिति क्या है, क्या क्या उड़ान भरे, वो हमारे सामने विस्तृत रूप में रखा है। लेकिन यही क्या केवल काफी नहीं है, हमको और आगे जाना है, और आगे जाने के लिए हम लोगों को सबको, शिक्षा से जगत से जुड़े हैं सबको मिल के एक परिवार के नाते हमको काम करना पड़ेगा, ऐसा मुझे लगता है। और हमारे लिए ये शिक्षा जगत ही एकमात्र क्षेत्र है, बहुत बड़ा क्षेत्र है जिसमें हम काम करते हैं। मैं समझता हूँ कि हमारा लक्ष्य है, हमारा जो क्षेत्र है उसको श्रेष्ठ बनाना। तो इसीलिए आज दिन भर जो हमारा ये सेमिनार चला, मैं आशा करता हूँ इस सेमिनार से हम लोगों को बहुत नया उत्साह मिला होगा, नया जोश मिला होगा, उमंग मिला होगा। उससे लेकर आगे जाकर हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी ने हमारे सामने जो लक्ष्य रखा, इस पर और तेजी से हम काम करेंगे और उत्साह और उमंग से हम काम करेंगे, और देश को शिक्षा क्षेत्र में भी विश्व गुरु बनाएंगे, जो देश पहले था। तो सबको बहुत बहुत मेरा नमस्कार, सबको धन्यवाद।
इस मंच पर अपने विचारों को साझा करने के लिए महोदय बहुत धन्यवाद। और कार्यक्रम के अंत में वोट ऑफ थैंक्स के लिए मैं आमंत्रित करती हूँ श्री आनंद राव वी पाटिल, अपर सचिव, स्कूल शिक्षा एवं साक्षरता विभाग, शिक्षा मंत्रालय।
Honorable Minister of Tripura, Sri Kishore Varman ji, respected Secretary, School Education, Sri Sanjay Kumar ji, respected Secretary, Higher Education, Sri Vinit Joshi ji, respected Dr. Manjul Bhargav ji, respected Sri Jagdish Kumar ji, respected Sunil Kumar Banwal ji, and all the esteemed dignitaries in this hall. Good evening to all of you. Now we draw the curtains on this insightful Akhil Bharatiya Shiksha Samagam. I take this opportunity to thank the person who is behind this, our Honorable Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi ji, for giving this wonderful gift to this country. I think we began to our Honorable Prime Minister. It is a very revolutionary step and we are seeing the results in last 5 years. We thank you, our Prime Minister, for giving wonderful message today. I extend my deepest gratitude to Honorable Education Minister Sri Dharmendra Pradhan ji for his visionary leadership and inspiring address in today's morning session, as well as Honorable Ministers of State Dr. Sukant Majumdar ji, Sri Jain Chaudhary ji for gracing the occasion. I take this opportunity to thank, as sir only said, that accidental chief guest of today. But we can see the quality, the opportunity sir has got it and the way he has batted today. Sir, it is wonderful to listen to you, sir. Thank you so much for this wonderful. I take this opportunity to thank both the secretaries, Sri Sanjay Kumar ji, Sri Vinit Joshi ji, for guiding us throughout this program. Lot of planning was going through this. We can see the efforts taken by them and our team. So thank you so much, sir, for your able leadership and guidance. I take this opportunity to thank Manjul Bhargav ji. Already Sanjay Kumar sir has told that he is the inspiration. Whenever we meet, you can see his smiling face and always is guiding both the departments, whole ministry here, as well as Sri Jagdish Kumar ji for their enthusiasm, guidance, and giving the roadmap for coming days also. Thank you, sir, for gracing this occasion and enriching our knowledge and giving the roadmap. I also take this opportunity to thank all our colleagues from various states, the state secretaries. Before that, I thank all the state honorable ministers from the states. They came here, they graced the occasion, and our chief guest also is still there. Thank you so much for participating in this grand event. I take this opportunity to thank all the state secretaries, state representatives from the various autonomous bodies, the heads of autonomous bodies, from our NCRT, from CBSE, from NVS, from the central universities, IITs, IIMs. I take the opportunity to thank all of you for this wonderful gracing the occasion. I also thank eminent moderators, panelists, educationists, researchers, institutional leaders, innovators, and industry partners, and special invitees who enriched our thematic sessions. Already we listened to various speakers. I don't want to go in the themes, whatever discussed here, but definitely it is making a big roadmap for all of us. My special appreciations to all the organizers. I think we should give them big hand, especially Archana ma'am and Rina ji and Govind ji. It's a wonderful organization. Thanks to all the colleagues from Department of School Education, Higher Education, and the Ministry. I express gratitude to the students of Kendriya Vidyalaya for evoking the spirit of togetherness through their welcome song, and to all the participants, stakeholders who joined us from across India. Thank you so much for your enthusiasm. Last but not least, I pay the homage to late Dr. Kasturanganji for his foundational contribution to NEP 2020, which will keep guiding us and making this राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति to develop this विकसित भारत जो हमारा स्वप्न है उसके लिए. This edition of Akhil Bharatiya Shiksha Samagam was very special. We completed 5 years, a landmark reform. Thank you, all of you, for your presence, engagement, and commitment. Together, we move forward. Let us continue to collaborate, innovate, and empower the next generation for विकसित भारत. अंत में मैं इस अखिल भारतीय शिक्षा समागम के सफल आयोजन के लिए आप सबका धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगा. ये आयोजन न केवल NEP 2020 की 5वीं वर्षगांठ का उत्सव है, बल्कि शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में आगे बढ़ने में हमारे साझा संकल्प का भी प्रतीक है. आइए हम सब मिलकर जिज्ञासा, नवाचार और सहयोग की भावना से विकसित भारत के सपने को साकार करें. Before concluding, I will use the quotes of the great poet Rabindranath Tagore ji. He said, and I quote, that you can't cross the sea merely by standing and staring at the water. The quote completed. Let's take a step forward. 5 years already we are working very hard. I know how hard our NCERT is working for bringing the textbooks. So much thought is going on. So many people are working there. If you take the ecosystem of education, 25 crore children are there in the school education, more than 5 crore children are there in the students are there in the higher education, and so many teachers. So more than, I think, 40 crore people are involved in this, so 1/3 of the whole population of India. So it is very, very important sector. So with the commitment to save the future of India, the future of Indian education system, and making more achievements and accomplishment in coming days, let's stop here today. Thank you so much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
अखिल भारतीय शिक्षा समागम 2025 को सफल बनाने के लिए सभी अतिथिगणों और मंच पर मौजूद अतिथिगणों का भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. सभागार में सभी की मौजूदगी ने इसे सफल बनाया. बहुत धन्यवाद. इसी के साथ अखिल भारतीय शिक्षा समागम 2025 का समापन होता है. और जैसा सचिव महोदय ने कहा कि ये समापन अखिल भारतीय शिक्षा समागम का है, लेकिन राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति के संकल्पों को पूरा करने का सफर लगातार जारी है. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आप सभी का. धन्यवाद.